if Dandan was your commander? Yes, I'm referring to the big fish, but I'm also referring to the entire format. See, Dandan is a casual format of Magic that is played using a single deck shared between all players. Well, 2 players. I don't know if anyone's tried Dandan 4-player. That's not the point of this video, though. The point of this video is that Dandan, as a format, is all about deck manipulation. The actual creature is absolutely horrible, and that's what makes it interesting. It's the only creature in the deck, it's the only way to deal damage. But, most importantly, it's about deck manipulation. Since you have the same deck, anytime a card goes on top of the deck, the next person who would draw a card gets that card. So picture this. We make a legendary Dandan with the ability. When a card would be put on top of a library, exile it instead. The next time a player would draw a card, they instead put a counter on the last card exiled by the creature that doesn't already have a counter on it. For as long as if there is a counter on that card, they may cast it. This does seem like probably a really complicated way of doing this effect, but I think it's the cleanest way within the rules of Magic currently. So while it is pretty complicated, once you understand how it works, I think it should be pretty simple for players to use. But I don't think that should be the full card. Not only do I think they should have Island Home, which is what makes Dandan so bad. Island Home was this old keyword that has now just been oracled to plain text because they know they're never going to do it again. As much as I really want to put that effect on this card and make them kind of good, like I was thinking of having them be an elder fish or something, and they have 7 power and so 3 attacks from it as commander damage, just like the classic Elder Dragons of the format. I feel like it's just too much space in text, since I can't just say Island Home, to really warrant that effect. Especially because there is another mechanic that I want to bake into this card, namely Memory Lapse. Memory Lapse is the other most important card in the format of Dandan. In fact, the official name for the format is Forgetful Fish. With Memory Lapse, you can counter a spell, and instead of it going into the graveyard, it goes on top of its owner's library. So while having Dandan as a commander allows you to fill your deck with these weird deck manipulation cards, it did seem important to allow you to not only have one available in the command zone, but also have one that you could repeat. And so could your opponents. I started thinking about the idea of a Spell Shaper ability. Spell Shapers all have an ability that for some amount of mana you can discard a card to replicate the effect of a spell. I was also inspired by Mongers. Mongers are one of those creature types that existed exclusively for a single cycle. There's one of each color, and that is all of the Mongers in the game. And they all have an ability that for 2 mana, you can do some various effect. But any player may use them. They will sell to anybody. So this is where I started getting excited. The idea of this Dandan commander that when cards get put on top of a library, whoever would draw next gets that card, and has a Monger ability that allows you to memory lapse anything by discarding a card and spending 2 mana. I don't know if there's anything else to be said, honestly. It's a pretty straightforward design. I wanted Dandan to be a commander, so I made Dandan a commander. Meet Amnesio, the Forgetful Fish. A 3 mana for blue, 6/2 legendary fish Monger. Amnesio has, whenever a card would be put on top of a library, exile it instead. The next time a player would draw a card, instead put a memory counter on the last card exiled with Amnesio that doesn't have a memory counter. That player may play that card for as long as it remains in exile. Also, 2 mana, discard a card, counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, put it on top of its owner's library instead of a graveyard. Any player may activate this ability. This was an especially weird build because it kind of just came to me in an instant. I had this idea as I was falling asleep, and I wrote it, and it barely changed. Another fun quirk of the memory counters aspect of this card is that it's actually going to interact a little bit with the Animus from the Assassin's Creed set. This was just kind of a happy accident. I was going to call them memory counters and then decided to look up if any card is already using memory counters. And not only are there memory counters being used by the Animus, it uses them while the card's in exile. So it actually functions, which I just think that's fun. Go for it. Put the Animus in your weird Dandan undeck. Making this video, I realized, like, I don't want to make cards. I want to make uncards. Watsy, hire me to make the next unset. Let's go! Alright, that's all I got for this week. I still don't know how to end these videos. Bye!